Hello, everyone. Today is actually the 16th. I had to look at my phone. Today is the 16th of May. I just did it, and I don't know why I don't remember. I just did a video on. I've had a lot of questions about how my wife and I dealt with COVID using ivermectin and the benefits we got from it. So I'm going to put a link in the bottom of this video in the description, and you can watch that video if you like. I did it's like a 17-minute video, and I actually spoke to my church about it last week. I've been getting tons of emails off of this channel about it because I said a little bit about it in my last video. I'm sorry we missed last week. For those of you that don't know and you're just tuning in for the first time, my name is Adam. I live here in Alaska. I do travel videos, mainly focusing right now. I was wanting to do a lot of stuff in Mexico. I've got a new job that's kind of hindering that, and uh, just up here in Alaska enjoying this beautiful weather now that it's not snowing. So basically, this video, my channel more than anything, has really became a place for us to share information about getting through Canada during the COVID-19 restrictions, getting to Alaska or leaving Alaska, coming back to lower 48. I go over the requirements. It's super easy. Don't be stressed about it as long as you have all your ducks in a row. So if you would, please watch my video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. That way the algorithm will share it to more people. And consider subscribing because we're doing weekly updates. I've had a lot going on in my life in the last few weeks. I had my grandmother die. My wife and I got COVID. We did do a video 2 weeks ago, and last week, just to be dead honest, my work has just been exhausting. It's been fun. I'm now the manager over all the airports for this regional airline here in Alaska that I work for, and it's been a really fun position. I'm thoroughly enjoying every minute of it. But I'm learning a ton. I feel like an old man. I look like an old man. I'm going to the gym after this, so that's why I'm not dressed up. But anyway, I was just exhausted. Busiest. I opened 3 airport stations in the last week, and that literally has consumed my life. So haven't had time to do video. But all right, let's jump into it. So at the end of the video, so every week we're getting new people that tune in. A lot of people just want to know what the requirements are. So there's a lot of people that listen to me every week, so they're just wanting to hear different things, how people's travels have went, and this, that, and the other. So at the end of every video, I'm going to go over the requirements. That way, if you already know the requirements, you can just hit stop and you don't have to listen to me ramble on. So we'll just dive into the emails. I've received a lot. I kind of picked out a few. We'll dive into the emails that I have had. We'll start with the first one here in Wasilla, Natalia. She's asking me if she can ask me some questions. Absolutely, Natalia. Please shoot me an email. I will respond. I'll be super busy with not any signal on Tuesday and Thursday, but other than that, all week I'll be able to respond to you. I do a lot of stuff out in Bush, Alaska. My AT&T phone just don't work. Driving from Alexandria. Peter says, hello, just watch your YouTube video. I'm currently living in Wisconsin, but we're moving to Alaska at the end of July. We'll be ringing up my friend in South Dakota and going through Montana and then up for the drive. I have some random questions. We will not be staying at hotels due to having a dog and possibly a cat on the drive as well. There are many places to camp. She's asking, are there many places to camp along the roadside, stops on the way? Did you drive up with pets? So let me just go over it one at a time. First of all, the biggest problem I see is they're not going to let your friend from South Dakota come. I've ran into this myself. They did let my mom through. This was at the very beginning of the pandemic, back in like July or August. I think it was August, when it was really just getting, the restrictions are really getting going good. Had a lot of viewers get turned around at the border. They will not let your friend from South Dakota through unless your friend is moving to the state of Alaska. Your friend will not be able to come. So I want to make that clear and save you a lot of headache and save your friend a lot of headache. Will you be staying? We will not be staying at hotels. I would try to. Is there camping along the way? I've heard of people doing it. I mean, are you pulling a camper? Are you sleeping in a tent? You're going to be exhausted. And I want to talk, Mr. Trout, it's a neighbor of mine. I still need to go meet. He lives right down the road. Sent me an article of an older couple that just killed themselves in a car accident coming up through right close to my Northern Rockies Lodge. You guys hear me talk a lot about. Mr. Trout and I, there's a lot of people that think you just got to hit the border. I mean, they're so scared of Canada. And like I said, it's happening to pilots and small aircraft too. They're flying over the ocean trying to avoid Canada altogether, and they're crashing because they run out of fuel because the headwinds are too bad. And I think we're having the same thing in cars. People are just trying to drive straight through because they're scared to stop. and they're killing themselves. Now, is that what happened to this couple? Who knows? It was 3:15 in the afternoon. They ran off the road. That road's not that curvy or that dangerous. It's not bad. It's not nothing like you probably picture. Uh, Me and Mr. Trout think they fell asleep. So take your time and stay places. Pretty well every hotel I went to had a place to have a dog. I don't know much about cats. I've never really liked cats a whole lot. I'm a huge dog lover. I don't like cats at all, to be quite honest. So I don't know. I don't know of anybody traveling with a cat. I guess if you had it in a cage, you can haul them on airplanes. I'm assuming you could bring it into a hotel that allowed pets. So I'm pretty sure you could. I mean, it's really common for people to move through there. So I don't think it'd be an issue. Like the Northern Rockies Lodge has cabins you can rent. So this time of year, I'd rent a cabin and let the cat run around inside the cabin and keep it in a cage when you're not. You need your rest. You need a quality meal. If not, you're going to kill yourself. That's my advice. And I've driven trucks and driven company cars all over the place. So I've got tons of experience traveling. I did not travel with pets. I don't have any. I travel too much. My wife and I both worked for an airline, and prior to that, I was a regional manager for a company and was literally living out of a suitcase about 180 nights out of the year. So I don't have pets. For satellite phones, I just recommend the Garmin InReach. It's not a phone; it's a way to text. It's a way to call for help. You'll have a phone for a lot of the way. When you leave Fort Nelson, you won't have a phone until you reach Watson Lake, and then only in Watson Lake, and then you pretty well won't have it till like Teslin, and then won't have it till Whitehorse. You go through long periods without cell signal. I just recommend a Garmin InReach and a small plan. That's what I do. Would you recommend having a Canadian map? You know what? There ain't no way to get lost once you get on the Alaska Highway because it is the only highway. So no, I don't. I do recommend you having a cell phone service that will help you get through. AT&T and T-Mobile work incredibly well. If you're moving up here, your T-Mobile, you'll probably switch over to GCI, which to me, they're great in the bush, but I wouldn't call them great. They work in the bush when nothing else does. I've got GCI for my company phone, and it's not the greatest. Here, AT&T works really good on the road system. So I guess it depends on where you're moving to. But make sure you have service going through Canada, and Google Maps works perfect. I wouldn't even have a GPS. As far as proof of residency, would a rental lease work? I should also be able to get a letter from my employer. I'll have 2 people helping me move, but then they will be flying out right away. So it looks like I should call the border about a month before, correct? No, don't call the border. And the people that are helping you move will not be able to ride up with you. I want to stress that. They will not. Those people will not be able to go up with you. I promise you. And I know it's so aggravating, but they're going to have to fly and meet you up there. So you need to be making plans for that. So please, I hope you're listening to that, because if not, you're going to have a really bad time. And shoot me an email, bigSkyBlessing@gmail.com. We can talk about it more. I can give you my phone number and we'll go over it, but they won't let you. How long did the trip take you in total? So, well, that depends on where you're coming from, of course, but let's talk about in Canada, 3 nights in Canada. And I'm going to go over that here in just a second. So I hope that answered your questions. Matthew from Colorado says, hey, Adam, my wife and I and our 2 dogs have decided to move to Alaska in the next upcoming months. Your videos have been very helpful with planning and figuring out how to make this work. What would you recommend on shipping a vehicle to Alaska? Any companies come to mind? I said, I don't know of any. I do know Tote is offering deals for RVs to come up. The state ferry runs twice, but it's kind of expensive. I recommend if you only have 2 vehicles, I strongly recommend you and your wife, you drive one, your wife drive the other, and you guys get cheap CB radios. That's my wife and I did it literally the first January 2nd. We left Montana. No, I think we actually left New Year's Day, January 1st. So we did it in the worst time you could do it in, and we actually prefer the winter, and we've done it all different times. But I recommend that. Strongly recommend that. Just follow each other. It's a super easy route. We actually had a lot of fun with it. We felt like we were in Smokey the Bandit show. I did hear from a guy named Dylan McKee. He says he's enjoying the videos. So he says he did get tested in Great Falls, and he said he wanted to give a quick rundown on his recent trip that basically got tested 2 days prior to crossing in Great Falls. Said it was no sweat at the border. They had us come inside. They only asked to see passports and their negative COVID test. They did have to take another test. And they didn't stop in any hotels. They just did RV parks. And I said, hey, what RV park did you do? This guy needs to be a truck driver too. He says they did Northern Lights and Dawson Creek. So they made it from the border to Dawson Creek. That's a hike. That's like 700 something miles. but it's doable. It's only 50 miles further than I go. And Dawson Creek's a really cool town. And then he went from there all the way to Teslin, Yukon. Holy smokes, that is a huge hike. And then from there, he was in Wasilla. That guy's a rock star. Whoever Dylan is the man. I do not want to travel it like that, but he did it in 2 nights in Canada, so it can be done, uh, and with an RV. So he's killing it. Definitely better than me. I used to could have done that. I guess I'm getting too freaking old. I think that's all we're gonna read today. So I do want to go over. I'm gonna share my screen. So before I share my screen, I've been hearing a lot. I'm going to tell you about one thing. Well, number one, Canada, the rumors I was hearing about the vaccines, and I'm not for or against the vaccine after going through COVID. I'm not for or against it one way or the other. I'm not going to get it personally right now, but who knows? That may change. I'm not for or against it right now. So I see why people do get it. But I'm not for vaccine passports. I'm not for people knowing my business. Canada has announced that they will be requiring the vaccine passport. When that will take place, they haven't set a date. They're nowhere even close to getting their own people vaccinated, much less us. Nothing like we are. So I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing. I think maybe in the fall you'd see this be a requirement, but eventually to get into Canada, even citizens of Canada, from what I read on the news, take that for what it's worth. Canada citizens will have to have no. Anyone entering Canada will have to have to be part of this vaccine passport and prove they're vaccinated. So that has came out. That will happen. So if you're thinking of moving and you're super scared of the vaccine like I am, I would be running as quick as you can because right now you do not need it. So that's the first one. Now I talk to a lot of people that'll write me, and that's how I share all this updated information. Now I've got a full-time job now. I'm not doing these trips like I was. Now I've done 6 of these trips, so I'm sharing experience I've had. I'm not just talking with no knowledge, but I'm here. What's helping me is all the my viewers are writing me, telling me, calling me. So I'm sharing from people I'm hearing along the way. From what I've been told recently, Portal is easy, but they're probably going to search the crap out of your car, which is fine. You're probably like me, you have nothing to hide. But it's just the aggravation of waiting. They're very thorough, and they're all very thorough. And the easiest crossing from the lower 48 getting into Canada, and it's the only one I've done, the only one I have experience with, but everyone's telling me that that's like the talk on the road, is Coutts, Alberta. It's just north of Great Falls, north of Shelby, Montana, north of Great Falls. Man, those guys are common sense people. If you're coming from Alaska down, you got to go through Beaver Creek. That is the worst one. That's like where they send all the rookies, and those guys are out to make a name for themselves. So you just got to have your ducks in a row, all of them, and it's all the same requirement. But that's what I'm hearing. That Coutts is by far the best. So I hear a lot of people say, I've got a friend that's going to be doing the trip this week that's going to be reaching out and sharing some information. He's doing an RV. His favorite way to go is go right up through Seattle, just north of Seattle there, up the, what does he call it? The Caesar Highway, I think it's called. I've never done it. I hear it's beautiful, but the people I've talked to recently say there's like hardly any gas, hardly any gas stops, hardly any lodging stops. I wouldn't recommend that way. It only really saves like 3 hours if you're on that end of the United States. If you're coming from the east, you wouldn't want to go that way anyway. So the 2 places I recommend crossing are one in Portal, North Dakota, which is just north of Minot, and the other one would be in Coutts, Alberta, just north of Sweetgrass, Montana. And we're going to go over what I recommend for a lodging stop. So, and I'll tell you places along the way. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to pull a map up so we can give a good visual here. Okay. So probably most of the people I talk to are coming from the East Coast for whatever reason. And that's where I'm from originally. So if you're coming from the East Coast, this is the quickest way. So, I mean, I'm not marketing. So basically, I recommend you're right before you cross into Canada, spend the night here in Minot. It's just a little old town. It's not that bad at all. Spend the night in Minot. And I've done a lot of research on this because I have a lot of people asking, where do I stay? So spend the night here, get up early the next morning, cross the border. You're going to cross. This is what they call Portal. This is an improved place for you to cross during COVID. And I recommend spending night 1 in this town. There's actually a better town. Might have been this North Battleford, I think it was. Yeah, that was like the halfway point because I recommend Grand Prairie next. But man, I read the crime in this town for whatever reason, like the worst. It's worse than the whole country or something. It's like tons of meth use and stuff. So I was like, I ain't gonna recommend that on my channel. I'm definitely, you know, anti-drugs and pro law enforcement. So this little town's pretty cool. It's got a lot of little Hilton properties, Marriott properties. It seems really nice. Saskatchewan. Somebody tell me how to say it because I have no idea. But I would, if I were going to make this trip, and keep in mind I've not made this trip, but I would stay in this town and like a Hilton property somewhere decent. And then my next day I would go to, so that'd be night one if you're going from Portal. Then I'd go to Grand Prairie, Alberta. All right, so we're going to leave off from there. We're going to come back to Grand Prairie. So if you did what I've always done and what I recommend and endorse, I would cross right here. I stay in Shelby, Montana. It's probably Shelby. Yep. I stay at a Best Western right here, Shelby, Montana, for night one. It does allow pets. It's a really nice Best Western. The beds are super comfortable. You're about 30 minutes from the border. There's a little, you'll want to gas up here after you leave here. I don't remember any gas along the way. I'm sure there is, but I'd gas up here. Sweetgrass, Montana is where you cross. It's Cowlitz, Alberta. I've never had a bad issue at this border crossing. I mean, it's frustrating. It's a pain. Don't get me wrong, but that's where I recommend crossing. People are having less trouble there than anywhere. So I definitely recommend crossing there. So spend the night in Shelby, my first night, and I'm going to go back up to where we were. So I drive through Calgary. Oh, let me go over something else while I'm talking about driving. And I've got another one on gas stops I'll post. When you get to Red Deer, it's going to try to send you up this way. Just keep driving all the way to Alberta, and you're going to take this little bypass. After you get north of Red Deer, your Google will recalculate. All this is like driving through the lower 48. So anyway, and then I go up this way. So, all right. So my night one is Grand Prairie. It'd be night two if you're coming from Minot, North Dakota, unless you want to kill yourself. And then my night three that I highly, 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 highly endorse is Northern Rockies Lodge, which is right here in Mucho Lake. It's absolutely beautiful. Just go to Northern Rockies Lodge, Google it. It's the best stay on there. So to back up in Grande Prairie, I always stay at the Hampton Inn. I've had a lot of people, a lot of my viewers are telling me they're staying at the Best Western there, and it's really nice. So I can tell you the Hampton Inn, the Best Western are really, really nice. If you stay at the Hampton, you can walk to a place called Brown Social House. Super good food, good beer. It's just a good vibe. Just go have fun, enjoy yourself, and you'll be fine. I know they say to eat in your room and all that stuff, but anyway, you don't want to stay in Watson Lake. It's an absolute dump. There's nowhere decent to stay there. You're going to be depressed. If you've never thought about committing suicide, you might in Watson Lake. I'm just joking, but no, it's nowhere. It's just a depressing little town. There's nothing there other than a cool sign forest. That's it. So anyhow, and then my next night, so the best place to stay after leaving Northern Rockies Lodge is Whitehorse. Whitehorse is really cool, but as of right now, we cannot enter the town of Whitehorse. So I'm hearing from a lot of my viewers, they're staying in Whitehorse, they're not having any issues, but they are still stopping you in Watson Lake and telling you can't go in the town of Whitehorse. You have to stay on Highway 1. There is no decent hotel on Highway 1. Every hotel on Highway 1 is an absolute scary looking place to stay. It's a dump. So if you want to go by the rules, if you're like my mom, and believe it or not, I did too the last few times, I've been staying in Haines Junction at a hotel called the Cozy Corner. And it's decent. It's super clean. It's ran by an elderly man and his sister, and it's really nice. You're helping a local. It's super clean. That area is beautiful. You got these mountains in the background. So that's night three. So coming from Sweetgrass, you got Grand Prairie, Northern Rockies Lodge, either Whitehorse or Haines Junction, depending on how much you want to chance it. At this time, I would probably stay at Whitehorse. I hear they've gotten a lot better. The Yukon's only been the only territory it's been a pain in the butt to deal with. And then when you leave here, it's going to be bumpy as crap going up. So those are the places I endorse staying. And I like to show with a map. And those are the two routes that I endorse. I do have my friend is going to let me know how it goes going up to Caesar. That way just never appealed to me, only because I like a good cocktail and a good dinner at the end of the day when I'm traveling like this. So that's pretty well all I have, other than I'm going to go over requirements. So if you've been watching me every week, you can hit stop now. That's pretty well all the updates. I'm hearing from a lot of people. So let me wrap it up with this. Everybody I've heard from has been getting through. the videos, all of you people that are coming up and sharing your information with me, for me to share to you is really working good. We're having a lot, everybody that's reached out to me is like, hey, if it wasn't for your video, I'd have got through. And it ain't me. It's all of us sharing information together. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just the spokesman of the group. I think I made somebody mad in Canada the other day with my opinionated self, but I am opinionated. That's just who I am. But I try to keep politics, in my opinion, somewhat down, but it's hard for me. So now I'm going to go over requirements. If you've just tuned into this and you're thinking about driving to Alaska, or you're thinking about driving from Alaska through Canada, either way, it's the same requirements of what you need in place. So if you already know this, you can hit stop and I'll see you next week. And I think actually we're probably going to start doing this video maybe every other week, but I probably will do a quick one next week. I always say quick and it never turns that way. I talk too freaking much. If you have any questions, bigskyblessing@gmail.com is my email address. Please shoot me an email. It's how I've been communicating with a lot of people. So the requirements, you need to have a COVID PCR test. You can get a rapid COVID PCR test in some places, but you get the answer back within 20 minutes. That's what my wife and I did when we were sick. It's super easy and it didn't hurt. I was scared of the death of the test forever, and there was nothing to it. And I hear it depends on who you get it from. We got lucky. The lady gave us ours. It was super easy. She just barely went in her nose, and it was great. The paperwork that you're going to need. So you'll need the negative COVID test results or proof that you've had COVID in the last 90 days. So like for me, I could technically go do the trip right now because I got proof that I was positive and I don't have any COVID symptoms anymore, but then they're going to make you test again when you get to the border. The paperwork you need. So this is super important. And this kind of, and if Alexandria is still watching, I hope she is, the work email is the biggest. So if you're, and I did a video last week or 2 weeks ago, and I talked about, and I'm not going to elaborate too long on this one because I know we're getting too long in this video, about how great America is. You know, we come up with our ideas, we sell everything we own, we buy a sailboat, we buy an RV, we go do whatever the heck we want to do, right? We don't have to have the 9 to 5 necessarily. So, and I've lived both ways, and I enjoy the free spirit way probably the best, I think. But anyway, with that being said, Canada, they will not consider your trip essential unless you're moving for work or this is your primary residence. So I recommend 2 things. I recommend if you're moving for work, like Alexandria was discussing, get the email, get that letter from work. Try to either get it in an email or get a letterhead. I don't know if it's going to be stationary. Get that letter for work. That's going to be your get into Canada card. They rather see that than anything. Plus, have your new lease and all that kind of stuff. If you're coming up here as some free spirit, I'm tired of the BS in the lower 48. I'm moving to Alaska to get away from it all, and I hear from more of those than anybody lately here. If you're coming up for that reason, I highly recommend investing in some cheap plane tickets. Get up here, find where you're going to live, sign a lease, get all that locked in place. Go to the DMV. You must set an appointment. Go to the DMV. Get your driver's license, your tags, get everything. Establish your residency here before you even make the move. When you go back, get all your stuff loaded up. You're going to your primary residence. You can prove what you did with the last residence if you need to. They won't. If you're going to your primary residence, they won't make you do that. If you're just going up and you haven't come done all that stuff, you're not going to your primary residence. You're going up to established residence. You do need a letter from work to prove it's essential, and you will need to show what you did with your house in the lower 48, or vice versa. If you're coming from Alaska, you'll need to show what you did with your house in Alaska, and you'll need to show where you're moving to. So get letters from landlords or mortgage companies or proof that you sold it, whatever the scenario fits into you. Travel partners, I know I said it earlier in the video, I'm going to say it again. They will not let travel partners through. That person, every adult has to prove, unless they're married, has to prove why they're going up. So, for example, my mom flew into Montana and wanted to just ride up and help us with our move. They had a heart attack. They did let her through. I can promise you they wouldn't now. They're not letting people. They're being very strict about that now. Travel times, pace yourself. Plan out. I highly recommend, and I've worked for a trucking company for a while, and I've traveled a lot for work for a while. I highly recommend try to plan no more than 10 hours of driving a day. That's enough. If 10 hours of driving time is going to be a 12-hour day any way you look at it. So look at the 500 to 600 mile range. Now that first day from Shelby to Grande Prairie, Alberta, that's a good that's like 687 miles if I remember right. But it's an easy drive, and it's the first day. After that, that's my longest drive of the whole trip. I do 10-hour days. Criminal history. I have a gentleman that watches me a lot. Make sure. If you've ever had a DUI, there's a good chance Canada won't let you through. He was telling me there's some kind of way to get a waiver, so you would want to look into that first. I don't know. Canada's super strict about if you've had any kind of domestic violence or any kind of assault charges, or this guy's DUI. His guy came all the way from South Carolina. His DUI was literally 35 years ago, and they would not let him through. Guns, you can carry long guns through. Make sure you declare them at the border. You can carry. I used to, in some of my videos, I share how much ammunition. It's either 5,000 rounds or 50,000 rounds. I don't remember. I know it's a huge difference, but I don't remember. I recommend just trying to flower your guns up and skip all the BS. For shipping, Alaska Airlines, I always endorse them. You probably could do the same with Delta as well. You'd go to their cargo for Alaska or Delta. Now American's coming up here during the summer, and you can ship it up that way. Alaska Airlines, no matter where you're moving in Alaska, Alaska Airlines will get you your stuff. They're really good. I highly endorse Alaska Airlines. I work with them in my new job quite a bit. They're a very professional airline. And the biggest question that I get is, do I download the Arrive Canada Pass? And heck no. Ignore the thing. We fall in our loophole. If you download the app, and I get this question by so many people, you download the Arrive Canada Pass. If you go online for what's required, it's going to tell you to download the app. If you do that, it's going to ask you where you're quarantining. You're not going to be quarantining. There have been several, and the last thing I got in my notes here, there have been several crashes. People are not getting the sleep they need. They're just trying to run up as quick as they can. Look, once you get across the border, it's not like people are watching you. My mom was paranoid the whole time. She thought people was watching her the whole freaking time. So, it's not like that. Just go enjoy yourself. Enjoy the trip. Now, don't do dumb crap. Don't go to Banff. Don't go to touristy places. Enjoy your drive up. When you got to pee, stop and pee. When you're hungry, stop and get some food. When you need to go to bed, stop and get a nice hotel. When you want to go eat something at a restaurant, go sit down in the freaking restaurant and enjoy your meal. As long as you don't do nothing stupid or make a big scene, they don't know if you're Canadian or American. So just go enjoy yourself. Just don't do nothing stupid and you'll be fine. And truly be on the route to Alaska, and no one will even mess with you. I promise you. Out of all the many hundreds of people I've talked to since I started doing this, and out of all my experiences, not one person has had a bad scenario for sitting down in a restaurant and having a meal, even though it's technically against the rules. So I hope these videos have helped. Alaska is such a cool place to live. It's a beautiful place. If you have any questions about Alaska, let me know. I'm a pilot up here. It's not what I do for a living right now, but I do work for an airline in management. So I definitely will get you the answer that you're looking for. I hope this video didn't ramble on too long. I hope you found the information useful. Please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the better. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Talk to you later. Bye.